Hello, it's Martin from Wisely Automotive, and this is an unusual video because we will take you behind the scenes of a day in Wisely Automotive. We are sitting in, I'm saying we, I've got Arthur next to me driving.
Hello.
We are sitting in a diesel Porsche Cayenne. Never thought I would say that in a Wisely video, but we are doing a delivery of a Renault Kangoo Maxi, which is loaded on the back. We met with Arthur at Beaconsfield Services. The van got loaded up and we are driving basically north of Manchester. The reason why we have to do it this way, even though we normally favor driving the cars, it's a bit more eco-friendly. We can use electricity on the way. We have done deliveries all the way up to Scotland, even with small battery electric vehicles, is that because the Kangoo, as mentioned in our previous video comparing the different vans we offer, it does not have rapid charging. So even though the range is quite good, at about 100 miles in this kind of weather, 110 miles, it would have been a very impractical journey with a 6-hour charging stop, at least one, possibly two.
That said, I did bring back that eVito all the way from Manchester.
Yes.
And that didn't have CCS.
Yes.
So, and I got back at, what?
4 a.m.
So it's doable.
So yeah, we are going to do it this way, and we've got a couple of jobs to do along the way as well. I was on my laptop planning out the route, and the first stop is south of Manchester. We recently sold a van which is still covered by our warranty, and it seems like the 12-volt battery has died on that. It's important to say that this is exactly the reason why we went in-house with our warranties, because some people could say this is just wear and tear and it's a consumable item, but it is covered by us. And given we are going to be nearby and everybody else was booked out in the area in terms of the mobile technicians, we will just do it ourselves. And by ourselves I mean Arthur will do the work and I will film him. So yeah, we'll pick up the camera when we get there, and for now we enjoy the diesel power. We arrive at the customer's address on time, and Arthur immediately gets to removing the plastic cover which is present on the Citroën and Peugeot vans to gain access to the battery itself. The original unit is swapped for a brand new one, so the vent port needs to be unplugged. Everything is put back together and the positive terminal is finally reconnected. Arthur checks that the van is working as expected, and it does indeed start on the first attempt without any warning messages. A quick dry and we get back on the road again. Yeah, that was interesting. I'm a little bit soaked. Arthur is very soaked, so he doesn't want to be on camera. He's pretty much naked now. I don't know, I can look at him. But anyways, next stop is dropping off the Kangoo we have on the trailer, so we will get back to you from there. Arthur unloads the Kangoo while I do the paperwork, and with no time wasted we head to our next stop, which is Warrington. This was quite a day. The red i3 is picked up. I moved it over to a local little car park where I set up all of my cameras, and we are pretty much ready to go. Arthur is on his separate way. He is picking up a Renault Twizy with the trailer, and now I will drive this i3 straight back to home. So this is where hopefully it will be a bit interesting. In the past couple of videos I did quite a few charging tests along the way and a lot of filming as well, so that took quite a bit more time, so it may seem like traveling with an EV is quite cumbersome, but hopefully this will prove the opposite, and I believe I have just the perfect vehicle for that. First, obviously it's red, so it's at least 10 miles per hour faster than anything else on the road, and secondly, it does have the optional heat pump, so it should be nice and efficient even in this cold weather. So without further talking, start the car. It's at 69% state of charge, which currently with the air conditioner running to demist the cabin is predicting 112 miles of range. Ideally I would have tried to make it all the way to Rugby services, but that's about 110 miles away. So the margin is too small, and especially considering it's raining, I think the energy consumption will go up a bit. Speaking of which, I will reset the trip computer and off we go. I have done about a mile and the battery is already 66.5%, so yeah, unfortunately I think rugby services are going to be unreachable. But the Insta-Vault I found on ZapMap at KFC should hopefully be a suitable location. I'm now on the motorway towards Birmingham. Of course, it absolutely started pouring rain. But anyways, I realized that we actually haven't discussed the background of this car and how we acquired it. We got it through Motorway. Motorway is basically a bidding platform for dealers when they want to acquire cars. Crucially, if you want to sell a car through Motorway, absolutely go for it. But one thing to keep in mind is that when Motorway gives you the price, it's not their price, it's an estimate of what your car is worth based on the current market conditions and so on. With that said, if you are looking to sell an i3 specifically, given we are i3 specialists, feel free to drop us an email directly and we will be able to provide a quote based on the condition, the specification, mileage and so on. I will try to overlay a list of things we need to give you a reasonable estimate, and hopefully we will be able to provide more, especially if yours is a nice example compared to something like a car supermarket or many of these online portals. Regarding the heat pump, working beautifully, the cabin is nice and toasty, set to 20 degrees Celsius. I've got my hoodie on, so that's plenty good. I have got 68 miles to go and the GOM is showing 94 miles, so that's absolutely perfect. Everybody is driving a bit slower because of the rain. The energy consumption is 17.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Let's see, actually, let me go into the settings and units, and I will try to change the units so you can understand what I'm talking about a bit better into miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah, so 3.5. Considering I'm doing 70 miles per hour, the heating is on, and it is, let me check, 9 degrees outside. I would say that's pretty respectable. So I just wanted to get it out of the way before I forget, but now, if you excuse me, I will listen to some music and I will get back to you at the charging stop. Arrived at KFC as planned with 7% beautifully, about 10 miles of range left. So far the energy consumption settled at about 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour. I had to slow down a bit towards the end because I wanted to be sure that I make it. And the speed limit was reduced to 60 miles per hour anyways. So let's plug in. Great, so that's working fine. The i3 is pulling only about 44 kilowatts. Now, that's totally normal even though the charger is rated at 50. The reason being, the i3 utilizes the older CCS1 protocol, which is implemented at 125 amps. And because of the voltage of the battery pack, even though the car is pulling the maximum it can, which is 125 amps, when we multiply that number by the current voltage, you will get a figure in the 44 kilowatt region. Good news, KFC has a single vegan option, but nevertheless stuffed my face, and while I was doing that, the car is already pretty charged. The station doesn't show the total charging time, but I'm already at 96% because other than the food, I have put the destination into the sat-nav. I will show you. And I've put in Toddington. So if I zoom out, that's about 80 miles away. The car seems to be very optimistic, predicting almost 177 miles on a full charge. But I've done some quick math, and based on the previous leg, where I used about 60-something% to cover about 83 miles. If I extrapolate that to 100%, a full 100% all the way to 0% should give me about 133 miles of range. And guess what? It's about 136 miles all the way to the office. Now I can try to take a short route directly through London on the M1, but still it's cutting really close. I don't really want to limit myself with heating, and I want to drive at the national speed limit where possible. So for now, Donington is in the sat-nav, and if it looks like I'm doing great on range, I can then stretch it all the way to the office. An interesting point you may have noticed is that while I was talking, even though the air conditioning was seemingly on and the car was still plugged in, all the windows have fogged up. Now that is entirely normal because the i3 has a very unique heating system, and basically the HVAC has limited power while the car is rapid charging. It's really too much to explain in a simple video like this, but rest assured that we will make a dedicated heating and air conditioning video about the i3, and in fact we will try to find two similar cars in terms of age and mileage, one with the heat pump and one without, and we will try to once and for all settle the discussion about how much of a difference the heat pump makes in real-world driving conditions at different temperatures. I literally just passed Donington services, and if you look at the instrument cluster, which I don't know whether you can see, I'm at 46% and the GOM is saying 65 miles of range remaining. So in fact I can completely cancel guidance for now, and I will put the office in as the destination. So that worked out well. I just got off the North Circular and I will probably head through the Rotherhithe tunnel back into the office. Currently only 5.5 miles to go, 13.5% in the battery, which is about 21 miles, so plenty to get me home. As I said before, I had the heating set to 20 degrees Celsius. It was a very comfortable temperature. I am sure that the overall consumption improved. The total trip average at this point is 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour because there was much less rain and standing water on the roads, which reduces the drag. And despite being further into the night, if I scroll through the computer, we are still at about 9.5 degrees Celsius, so it didn't really get any colder. I just officially rolled into our car park. Still 11% left, not even a low battery warning. You have to keep in mind the last couple of miles are through London, so even at 11% the predicted range is still 20 miles. Overall, the consumption, just like mentioned before, has settled at 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour, 50 miles per hour average speed, 4 hours and 23 minutes of driving time. Now that includes when the car was in ready mode while I was charging, but still 214 miles done. I would say quite respectable out of about 1.5 charges. Let's find a good spot for it now. I would say that's actually a very good point to end the vlog on. Arthur insisted that the stats for the diesel Cayenne are included as well, so I will put up a screen with the MPG, miles driven and so on. And even though I referred to other videos throughout this vlog a lot, let me show you one last teaser before I leave. Lots more i3, but not really i3 content coming soon, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the format. Obviously this is not our typical day, but given quite a few things were happening, I thought I would bring you along. And yeah, see you in the next one.